So despite Macron barely beating Le Pen in the first round of the presidential election, various mainstream media outlets are reporting that Le Pen is finished, and that Macron will blow her out of the water. So I thought I'd provide some advice to any French-speaking meme jihadis who wanted to try and do something about this. The first up is emphasizing Macron's background. Now, Macron was educated in one of France's most elite schools. He became an overnight millionaire when he was hired by the Rothschilds, and then he went into the Hollande government, where he's the Minister for Economy, Industry and Digital Data. Macron always has been the establishment candidate, which is why they are all now throwing their weight behind him, particularly the high-ups in the EU, Merkel, all of the other French candidates who are getting knocked out, and pretty much anyone you can imagine, exactly the same as when Donald Trump and Brexit happened. So here's what you need to do. You need to emphasize that Macron is not on the side of the working people of France. In fact, he is for the status quo because he has benefited directly from the status quo. Now, I personally think the best way to do this would be to emphasize just how fucking wealthy Macron is. Picture him in his fancy cars and looking like a total aristocrat. In fact, you should probably Photoshop him as an aristocrat. Everywhere on every hashtag should be Macron in a powdered aristocratic wig, showing him to be the upper-class toff that he is. This should be the main method of delegitimizing Macron, in my opinion. Every time he is pro-Islam, every time he is saying, well, don't worry about the terrorism, just deal with it, there should be a picture of Macron with a wig juxtaposed with the victims of a French terrorist attack, with him saying things like, it's an imponderable problem, let them eat cake. In fact, memeing Macron as Marie Antoinette is probably your best bet in this regard, because he is an out-of-touch aristocrat. This isn't going to be enough on its own, however, and what you need to do is start stealing voters from the other candidates to go to Le Pen, because they think that Macron's going to win it in a landslide, because they think all of the other voters from the other candidates will just default to Macron on principle. This is where the meme jihadis can really insert a wedge and crowbar the issue open. Things like that, graphs like this should be put around. Terrorism-related arrests in 2015. France, Spain, UK, Belgium, blah blah. You can see just how bad this is in France. Macron will do nothing about this. Make his name synonymous with sloth when it comes to terrorism in France. Make him be forced to say something in public. Make his name synonymous with a man who's going to do nothing. At least nothing but serve his own interests from the back of his comfy, protected, probably guarded car. Emphasize that Macron will not address any of the issues that people are voting for Le Pen on. He's not going to stop immigration. In fact, he's probably pro-immigration. He's not going to ask refugees or migrants to integrate. You need to speak directly to people's concerns, and you need to show people that Macron will not speak to these concerns. In fact, he is part of the corrupt establishment that has been directly feeding these issues that are causing people's problems. Then you have to look at the other candidates in turn. For example, Fillon. He's centre-right. He is a very, very traditionalist type, and he has the oldest demographic in the French elections. Fillon is a social conservative, and he is an advocate for family values, and this will undoubtedly be what his supporters want too. Fillon's sudden rise in popularity is in large part due to a book he published this autumn called Conquering Islamic Totalitarianism, which won him support on the right. In it, he lambasted the French government for failing to deal with Islamic terrorism that had seen more than 230 people killed in France in a period of 18 months. Leaning towards the clash of civilizations theory developed in the 1990s by Samuel Huntington, Fillon warned about the bloody invasion of Islamism into our daily life to herald a third world war. Emphasize this to Fillon voters. Find wherever they congregate, online, in real life, wherever, put up posters in your local neighborhoods if you have to. Macron will not deal with terrorism. This is Macron's position. Fillon voters, that is going to be one of their main issues. Don't worry about the social stuff, it's irrelevant, that can be dealt afterwards. This is what you need to focus on. Showing Fillon's voters that Macron will do nothing in this regard will definitely make them feel less inclined towards Macron. Because I think he has a heavy Christian base, you should probably emphasize the difference between Muslims and Christians. For example, Muslims overwhelmingly believe that Jews cannot be trusted, make a big deal of Islamic attacks on synagogues, or the fact that they're driving Jews out of France, and they are. Half of Muslim fundamentalists believe that violence is justified to defend Islam. Show them that only 35%, fucking hell. That must be about 2 million Muslims in France who think that violence is justified to defend the faith. When it comes to Mélenchon, he is completely different, and so you need to approach his supporters in a completely different way. It's very interesting how he is very close to Le Pen on the protectionism aspect, and he's at least on the same wing on the statist aspect as well. And he is also very Eurosceptic. So this is how to approach it. Don't worry about the immigration thing. He has pretty much a radically different perspective to Le Pen, and he's a lot closer to Macron. So don't worry about the immigration one when targeting his supporters. He wants more government investment in the French economy, and a possible Frexit from the European Union. When you go to wherever these people's supporters are, post a picture of Le Pen, post her quotes of "I'm going to give us a referendum on the EU," and highlight that she is the only candidate who is going to give them a vote on the European Union. She is the only other candidate who can be even considered vaguely Eurosceptic, especially when put next to Macron, who's openly pro-EU. He's very much in favour of it. So just use Macron quotes. Show them a picture of Macron in a French aristocratic wig, and here's, "The EU is great. They're doing a great job for us." Mélenchon is very left-wing, and his supporters are undoubtedly going to be very left-wing, so don't do it in a nationalistic sense. Appeal to what I suspect is probably a great disillusionment with neoliberalism. They're probably not globalists, they're probably not corporatists, whereas Macron is. So highlight Macron's millionaire status, highlight the fact that he's worked for the Rothschilds, highlight the fact that he worked for Hollande, highlight the fact that he is opposed to them on this key issue. But seriously, do everything you can to highlight Macron's elitist status. Get anything where he has denounced populism in any form, and then just put that on these things with him in a French wig saying, "I'm against the common man," or something of the sort. And that will be a general dissuading factor for most people, I think. For people who are not already part of the liberal elite, it will definitely make them think twice. Remember, when you're doing any of this, don't put Pepe's on it, don't put Kekistan on it, don't put anything like that. In fact, make these memes look as corporate as possible. Make them look as shareable and slick and professionally designed as possible. Make sure the Photoshops are good. Don't do any of the MS Paint shit or anything like that. Make sure you do good, solid, professional-looking stuff. But make Macron look ridiculous. Make him look elitist. Make him look like Marie Antoinette. Make him look like he doesn't care about the problems of the regular person. Make him look like he doesn't care about Islamism. Make him look like he doesn't care about terrorism. And it's easy to do this because he fucking doesn't.